I hope you don't mind if we spend the bulk of the time talking about the Munsters, since this is a Halloween interview.
Oh.
I always watch the Munsters. Well, I watch the Munsters and the Addams Family both, but I like the Munsters better because I was always more of a fan of the old Universal movies, and Fred Gwynn had the Frankenstein makeup and all that, and that was always my favorite Universal movie anyway. So, but I did some catching up on some Munsters episodes last night on Netflix, so to kind of refresh myself a little bit.
Okay.
There for a while, you weren't so crazy about being known for Eddie Munster.
No, not for a while. After the time, when I was about, I guess 18, 19, I kind of got disenchanted with the whole industry, and I kind of got out of it. And it wasn't so much the industry; it was me and being a teenager and trying to, be young and stupid and running around, running amok, and sex, drugs, and rock and roll, fast cars, surfboards, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Teen lust.
Yeah, okay. Well, that can kind of be a two-edged sword there. How did you get into acting?
They were looking at my little sister there was an agent named Mary Grady who was branching off from another agency to specialize in children. And a friend of my mom's knew her, thought Michelle was cute, and I went along for the ride, as we didn't have a babysitter. I was about 7, and Michelle was about 2 at the time. So after they were done taking photos of my sister, they added me in and took some pictures of myself. And then the one thing led to another, and the pictures wound up on Hollywood Boulevard in this agent's situation, and he wound up getting me some work. My agent had a lot of exposure from this one picture, and one thing led to another, and there I went.
Oh, okay. So they just saw you along with her and said, "Hey, let's take some pictures of him," or?
It was the guy that shot the pictures. Was a guy named Amos Carr Studios, and he was in Hollywood Boulevard, and he put my picture out in the window. There was this one really good shot of me that just drew a lot of attention, and then Mary submitted me to 3 interviews, one of which was General Hospital, and I got. One was a Kellogg's Cornflakes commercial, which I got, which became the best commercial of the year. And then another one was a little movie, a B movie, but it starred Eddie Albert and Jane Wyatt as my parents, with Soupy Sales as the comic relief cop, Brenda Lee as my older sister, and Nancy Culp as my school teacher, Miss Jane Hathaway.
Yeah.
So it was a great little 6-week period that got me started in the movie business. So I was 3 for 3 in the interview process, and had a movie, a commercial, and a series.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't guess that worked on your ego any, did it?
And for that, I was just kind of happy to be doing something and getting out of school,
Oh, okay. That would do it. When you mentioned Eddie Albert and Jane White, that was the 2 Little Bears?
Yes, it was.
Okay. What were they like to work
Great
with?
people, really nice folks. It was a very fun movie. Like I say, it was a B movie, but the directors and the writer George W. George and Randy Hood took a liking to me, and it was kind of allowed me to get comfortable in front of the camera.
Well, Eddie Albert seems like he might be a lot of fun. Jane Wyatt, though, I'm thinking of Jane Wyman. Jane Wyatt, though, she was on Father Knows Best.
Beverly Hills. Well, Jane Wyatt was, but she was, Mrs. Anderson for sure.
Yeah, she seems like she would be a lot of fun.
And I enjoyed Father Knows Best. So it was fun for me to be around people that I enjoyed, watching.
Of course, now you were on a lot of TV series. I remember Ben Casey, Bonanza, My Favorite Martian, Rawhide. And you mentioned you were also on General Hospital. You were a soap star there.
Yeah, for a while. It was like about 4 or 5 months run. I was Bobby. It was John Barandino had a love interest, and I was her son. So we spent a lot of time coming and going to the ballpark, and how they set up kids for a scene. You don't really have a lot to do. You just sort of do this and do that, and then they let you run amok.
Oh, okay. Well, of course, the Munsters comes along, and now you weren't the original Eddie, though, from what I read.
No. Bill Mooney was originally cast. They were looking at him, and he didn't want to get under contract to be locked into one studio because he was doing so much work. And I was living in Illinois, so after they kind of looked around a little bit, they chose this Happy Derman, and Joan Marshall was Lily, and Happy Derman was Eddie. And then at the last minute, they flew me in from Illinois for a screen test with Yvonne DiCarlo, and they wound up picking Yvonne DiCarlo and myself.
Now, according to Wikipedia, there's a quote Wikipedia is not always entirely accurate, but it says you had a lot of experience when it came to getting that role.
Yeah.
Now, this might sound weird, but now when I watched The Munsters as a kid, I didn't realize you were supposed to be a wolf man, and I guess it's or a werewolf, even though you carried around the Woof Woof doll.
Yeah.
You know, I guess it was the lack of the facial hair.
Well, you know, being a young kid, yeah, that's true. And they took a lot of creative license. They didn't really know, you know. They one scene they would say they loved me from the top of my pointy ears to the bottom of my little hooves, you know. And a werewolf wouldn't have hooves; it would be like more of a deer or a horse or a minotaur or something. But for what it was worth, yeah, I was supposed to be a werewolf.
Yeah. Okay. Well, now, I guess there are plenty of stories you could tell from the set. Any you can pass along on the air?
No, I mean, just you know, good times and a lot of fun stuff. There's special effects bloopers occasionally, but nothing really too good. And I was in school a lot of the time, so I'm sure some funny things happened that I wasn't privy to. I enjoyed driving around in the cars when we had any kind of outdoor shoots. Were nice because this soundstage was so dark and dingy, and they started writing a lot of father and son episodes where Fred Gwynn enjoyed sports, so they wrote one in where, you know, he was my coach at the track and field, then he was a golfer, then he was a baseball player, then he was a rodeo rider, then he was, you know, I mean, there's all kinds of things that come up that they would acknowledge his sports. He was a basketball player one time, he was a basketball player, so there was probably 8 to 10 scripts written specifically for me and him to, drag racing, and he went out to the drag strip one time, so anyway, those were interesting.
Yeah. I read where you lived on the East Coast and traveled to the West Coast to shoot every week.
I was on the West Coast traveling to the East Coast. My dad got traded. He was a ball player. He got traded to the Washington Senators. So not every weekend, but maybe once or twice a month I would commute back and forth.
Oh, okay. Hmm? And, of course, you had all this makeup going on. How long were you guys in the makeup chair?
Only about an hour. It wasn't too bad for me.
I guess probably Fred Gwynn had the...
Yes, he was a lot longer. He was a few hours a day.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of touch-ups throughout the day, throughout the day as well.
Yeah. Well, now you and Pat Priest, who played Marilyn, are the only ones left from the main cast. Of course, Pat Priest is not the original Marilyn either.
Yeah, there was Beverly Owen was the original, as you probably well know. Did your research?
Yeah. Yeah. The episodes I watched last night had her in it. Do you see Pat very often?
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, we do a couple shows a year together, and right now she's going to have surgery on her hip, so she'll be laid up for a little while. But yeah, she's doing great. She's a good friend, and I've stayed at her house up in Haley, Idaho, and she's moved now since there. But when I first went up to Idaho to visit her, she was living up there.
What does she do nowadays?
She's retired.
Okay.
She made her money in real estate.
All right. Well. The Munsters only lasted 2 seasons. Seems like a lot longer than that.
Yeah, I know. Oh, definitely.
Did it seem a lot longer than that when it was going on?
Yeah. No, it was 70 episodes a year, and we did quite a, it was kind of, it kind of flew by, actually. It was only a couple of years.
Well, of course, back then a season was a lot longer than it is now.
Yes, it was. It certainly was.
When you stayed in the business for a while, what did you go on to do after the Munsters?
After the Munsters, I went over and I did a lot of My Three Sons. I did, I don't know if you saw my credit list on IMDb or not, but after the Munsters, it was, Adam 12, Marcus Welby's, Monkeys, Disney movies, this other movie. I did 17 movies, about 3 or 4 before the Munsters, and maybe about 8 before and 8 after. It was kind of divided up. A great movie called The Phantom Tollbooth with Chuck Jones, and a lot of other things as well.
Yeah. In 1971, you got another starring role in the Saturday morning show Lidsville.
Yes, I did. Not my favorite show, but what the hell, Well, at the time, in hindsight, it was a really cool show, but while I was doing it, I was not very happy about it.
Well, you probably weren't at the age where you thought it was very cool, I don't guess.
Well, actually, I turned it down several times, and they kept coming back to me and kept bugging me about it, and finally I just said, they kind of tried to sell me to Jack Wilde. They made Jack Wilde a star, and I said, no, Jack Wilde was a star from Oliver long before he came over to do Puff and Stuff.
Yeah.
Try again. And then I just called some friends of mine in high school. I said, look, if they're trying to get me to do this silly Saturday morning series, and they go, you're going to turn down a series? I said, well, it's 11 weeks work, and it threw a pretty good check out, pretty good number out at me of how much money I would make. And then I figured most of my friends would be asleep on Saturday morning, so nobody would ever see it. And they fooled me there because it turned out to be a big hit. And then not only did it go from ABC, it was originally on ABC, then NBC bought it, and they aired it for 2 more years.
The same 2 years.
Yeah, so that was pretty much how it went.
Yeah. You mentioned HR Puff and stuff. Same folks
and then the
created it.
Well, that was right after. I kind of like doing it because I looked at the pictures of that cute little girl in the Bugaloos, and I said, wow, she's kind of cute. Maybe I'll run into her up here on the soundstage or something.
Oh, okay. Your co-stars on that show were Charles Nelson Riley, Billy Hayes, and we mentioned the typecasting earlier. He kind of typecast himself there for his whole his whole career.
He was complaining about the makeup. I said, you get no sympathy from me, Charles. I went through it for over 2 years. You only have to do it for a summer.
And Billy Hayes, she played Witchy Poo in Puppet stuff, and she's done several similar roles, voiceover too as well. All right, well, Lidsville comes to an end. What comes next for Butch Patrick?
Oh, just a kind of a out of control lifestyle for a while. I grew up in the '60s, and everybody was getting high and drinking and partying, and I continued to do that myself, like everybody else did. I tried to be accepted by the regular guys. And my plan to be accepted was to induce in drugs and alcohol and this and that, like a lot of kids were doing. But all in all, it kind of one thing led to another, and then I started working just normal jobs and small businesses and this and that. Nothing to do with the industry until about 1982 when MTV came on the air, and that's when we did Eddie and the Munsters.
Okay, yeah, you got into rock and roll about that time.
Yeah, well, I had a record career in '71 after Lidsville with Metro Media. Metro Media let Bobby Sherman go, and they were looking for a teeny bop bubblegum star, and my producers, the producers of a group called Sugarloaf, who was a fairly big band at the time, and several had big hits, Green Eyed Lady and Don't Call Us, We'll Call You, and
we play their
album called Spaceship Earth. They were with Claridge Music, and Dennis Scannum and Vic Catella asked if I would be interested in making some money doing records, and I told them I don't sing, and they said no problem, and I was like the original Munster Manili long before Millie. So we did that in '71 and '72, and then about 10 years later, in '82, we tried Eddie and the Munsters, and we wanted to make a rock video, which we did, and then we were the first unsigned act to be on the MTV, from which they formed the Basement Tapes, which was a really good idea, and a lot of bands got some notoriety and some exposure, and that's one of my high points of helping others was that particular summer of '83. We went this September, I think it was actually late summer, that we got involved with that.
Now, you haven't gotten all the way out of TV and movies, though. I mean, you've done The Simpsons and Little Caesars pizza commercials.
What I did is I stopped going out to auditions, but people, if someone sought me out and found something for me to do, I would do it if I liked it. But I just wasn't going to go back and start the process of, being competitive about it. It wasn't that important. Yeah.
So now you've come back and kind of embraced Eddie Munster.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, the main thing that happened to me was I got sober a couple of years ago. I'm coming up on 2 years of sobriety, and that helped a lot because I'd been out partying for 40 years, and you really don't make a lot of headway doing anything when you're partying, let's face it.
Yeah.
You spend a lot of money, and you don't make a lot of money, so anything you do make, you spend, and it just, it's a vicious cycle. So when I got sober, it not only helped me evaluate myself and get grounded and get some balance to my life, but it also jump-started my career again. It was very cool.
Okay, well, I knew you had gone into rehab a couple of years ago, and I was going to ask you how that was going for you.
It's going great. I've never been happier and healthier. I went in I didn't know I had cancer. I found out I had cancer. I had my prostate removed. I'm 0.001 now. I'm very healthy and happy. Pre-diabetic, but I keep it under control with my diet and exercise. Not so much exercise. I need to work on that a little bit more. But I do stay close to the program. I help others, and it's been working out really, really well.
The prostate cancer was something else I was going to ask. I was wondering how that was going too. And you mentioned pre-diabetic. Well, I found out a year ago I was a diabetic, and so I can relate to you there as far as the I'm just on the diet right now, so I'm not I'm not doing the shots.
I was really, really lucky. Believe it or not, a doctor who came into treatment while I was there invented the diabetic pump and the diabetic pen, and he's like extremely, gazillionaire doctor who had issues too. And he and I hit it off, and when he found out I had cancer, he turned me on to he calls them his ninja rock star doctor buddies. Took good care of me, and then he's been helping me with my diabetes, which I'm just taking one pill a day for metformin.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And it's my blood sugar varies between 75 to 110. I mean, it's really under control.
Yeah, that's about where mine's running right now. So
yeah,
so we're in good shape. So
yeah, we are. We're in good shape. So I really couldn't be happy. And financially, my life's turning around. I'm not going out and spending a bunch of money, and at the same time, now it takes you like a year to do like maintenance on yourself, and then the second year, people start noticing that it's sticking, and you're not one of these Hollywood merry-go-round rehabbers that just kind of get sober for 3 months and then fall off the wagon, and get sober for 3 months and fall off the wagon. The Dr. Drew cycle of
yeah
into this place with not really knowing what I was getting myself into, but I was ready for a change, and it's, for me anyway, really a fairly easy trip because I was ready, and I was 40 years is a long time for anybody to be playing. It's time to grow up.
Yeah. Well, I saw where you had plans to write your autobiography on a word processor you'd gotten at a yard sale.
No, that was the Onion. That's the Onion's.
Is that okay?
They wrote a really good story that I was honored, because I know once you arrived in the Onion, you're pretty much like cult favorite classic stuff.
Okay. I thought that was weird. I guess that's what I get for not.
Funny though, wasn't it? It was great. It was terrible. I loved it.
Okay. Well, you're out there doing personal appearances all over the place. I guess this is maybe more so. This is your busier time of the year.
Well, the Halloween industry has just gotten so big. The kids don't go trick-or-treating anymore because, unfortunately, it got dangerous, and a bunch of nutcases ruined it for everybody. So people that love haunted, literally, there's a huge world out there of people that just love haunted. Just look at the movies, scary movies and haunted houses. Every theme park, Disneyland, Six Flags, they all have these huge 6-week runs of their haunted park situations. So they know that it's really popular, and an extension of that is the independent attractions around the country hire celebrities like myself to come in to do meet and greets. And so what I do is from the end of September to the first week of November, I book myself between usually Thursdays and Sundays, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays are travel days back home, and I do it. And then the rest of the year, in between doing whatever I'm going to do, it's pretty fun to go out. Like, for instance, the Munsters has a big hot rod presence because of the cars in the show.
Mm-hmm.
So people contact me. I like cars. I have a Harley and motorcycles and cars. So I go out and I do quite a few car-related shows and rods and cruises and this and that, which is fun. It's actually a payday. It's an easy payday, to be honest with you. And then the Munsters had a lot of toys and merchandise, so you wind up doing a few collectible shows. Then you got the horror genre sci-fi thing the rest of the year, and you wind up doing a few of those. And there was comic books, so you do Comic-Con. I did Comic-Con, and now there's a new Munsters, the Mockingbird Lane reboot coming out, which I was honored to go on the set the last day of the shoot. And I met the cast, I met the writer and director, and they took a liking to me. And they asked me to introduce it at Comic-Con in July, which I did. And then during the panel, Brian Fuller, who wrote it was his panel, stated there was a question about whether I would be involved in it as a cameo. And he goes, I'm going to do more than a cameo for Butch. I'm going to write him in as a reoccurring role as Scoutmaster. So whenever Eddie goes out on one of his scouting expeditions and his campouts, that's when he turns into a werewolf.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing part of the show. So theoretically, I should be in every fourth episode if it's true to them, if they stay true to once a month moon. But that was very much a nice surprise to me. I didn't expect it, and I very much appreciated it. And since then, last couple of weeks, I actually got 2 movie offers out of the blue from people that have been watching my career from the sidelines, and they're pretty much convinced that I'm sober and I'm staying sober. And they're starting to look at me as an actor again. And I told them, I said, I haven't done this for a long time, but I guess it's kind of like riding a bike. You never really forget it. I was never really an actor. I was a kid who could act, but I really wasn't a thespian. It wasn't in my blood to pursue stage and theater. And, I was just looking at an easy way to make money to buy a race car.
Yeah. Okay.
That was my goal. And then after I had the money, I didn't have enough money to get a race car because they were so damn expensive.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you about this new Munsters show because I'd read that it was dead, I read it it's not dead, and Of course, I guess the Munsters are never really dead.
It's not dead. It's very much alive. In fact, it's going to be on the spring schedule for NBC Universal.
All right, well.
Very cool.
Okay. Now, you got a website. The Munsters.com is your website, right?
Yes, it is.
And I guess that's where we keep up with, what you got going on.
It's kind of right now, it's kind of in a dormant state. I have to sort of change a couple of things on that and get a new program. I have a new girl that's going to be monitoring it and maintaining it with the Munsters fan club thrown in. Right now, it's just kind of, it's there, but I had it redone a little while ago. Now I need to fix it up a tad more, but I'll get it.
Okay. Well, and now there's a chopper link on there. Is it the Eddie Chopper? What's
my bike, my motorcycle?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my bike. I designed that.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask you if you designed it or if you... In
fact, I designed it. I just took delivery of it about 4 weeks ago, and unfortunately, my crossbait, after taking my crossbait out, and my butt's a little sore, so it's a hardtail.
Mm-hmm. Can't
ride it. So I'm going to sell it. I'm going to send it, either take it to Bear Jackson or send it to Australia as part of a contest to, win Eddie Munster's bike or buy Eddie Munster's bike, or we'll do something with it, and then I'm going to get a soft tail, right, a little bit more of something more of a deluxe as opposed to a real straight-up chopper.
Okay, well, cool.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Nice looking bike.
Yeah. All right. Well, I know you had to fit me in your schedule, and I appreciate it.
That's all right.
I hope things keep going well for you, and thanks again for talking with us.
You are more than welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you.